So let's start with the weird part. This Viking didn't rush into battle. He didn't swing an axe. He didn't scream, flex, or try to look intimidating. Most of the time, he just sat there, and somehow, that was enough to break entire armies. This is Ivar the Boneless. And yes, that nickname was basically Viking society, saying, yeah, this guy is not supposed to be winning. Vikings worshiped strength, big muscles, loud voices, fast violence. If you couldn't fight, you were background noise. If you couldn't stand out in battle, you didn't matter. Ivar didn't fit the system. So instead of playing the game badly, he changed the game completely. While other warriors trained their bodies, Ivar trained his brain. He watched people, not heroes, people. Who panics first? Who follows orders without thinking? Who breaks when things don't go according to plan? And that turns out to be way more useful than abs. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most battles aren't decided by strength. They're decided by fear, confusion, and timing. And Ivar understood that better than anyone around him. When armies met, he didn't charge. He waited. He let the enemy get tired. Let them guess. Let them imagine what was coming. Because imagination is terrifying. Enemies expected chaos. Instead, they got silence. Rows of Vikings standing still. No shouting. No movement. Just waiting. That's when panic kicks in. Because when nothing happens, your brain starts inventing reasons to be afraid. And then, when the moment was right, Ivar moved everyone else like pieces on a board. One order, one signal, one perfectly timed collapse. Cities didn't fall because Ivar was strong. They fell because his enemies were already defeated before the first weapon moved. And here's the part people forget. Ivar wasn't trying to be impressive. He was trying to be effective. No heroic speeches, no dramatic charges, just control. Think about how terrifying that is. A leader who doesn't need to prove anything. A commander who doesn't need to rush. A man who wins by doing less. By the time enemies realized what was happening, they were already running. Formations broke. Orders collapsed. Fear spread faster than any Viking axe. And the guy sitting calmly at the center of it all still hadn't moved. So no, you don't always need strength to win. You don't need speed. You don't need rage. Sometimes the most dangerous person in the room is the one who stays quiet while everyone else loses their mind. And this is just the beginning. Because once Ivar starts playing this game for real, entire kingdoms are about to realize that standing up is optional, but thinking ahead is not. Stay with me. This story only gets darker and a lot more uncomfortable. At some point, people stopped asking how Ivar was winning and started asking something much more uncomfortable. Why was this even working? Because by every rule of Viking society, this man should have been invisible. Vikings didn't respect clever plans. They respected scars. They respected noise. They respected whoever could swing an axe the hardest and survive long enough for someone to sing about it later. Ivar did not fit the playlist. He didn't charge. He didn't boast. He didn't need to remind people who he was, which ironically made him terrifying. While other Viking leaders were busy trying to look legendary, Ivar was busy trying to be effective. And those two things are rarely the same. When the great Heathen army formed, it wasn't a normal Viking raid. This wasn't a summer vacation with loot. This was an invasion designed to stay. Thousands of warriors, dozens of longships, a logistical nightmare that somehow worked. And at the center of it all was a man who treated war less like a brawl and more like a spreadsheet. England at the time wasn't a united kingdom. It was a political group chat where everyone hated each other, and nobody muted the drama. Northumbria, Mercia, East Anglia, Wessex. Each kingdom convinced it was special, chosen, and definitely not the next one to fall. Ivar looked at that situation and thought, oh, this is going to be easy, because divided enemies don't need to be beaten. They beat themselves. Northumbria was first, not because it was weak, but because it was busy fighting itself. 2 kings, 1 throne, 0 coordination. It was basically a civil war speedrun. Ivar waited, let the chaos cook, then moved in when everyone was exhausted, angry, and disorganized. York fell so fast that half the city probably didn't realize it was conquered until the banners changed. That became the pattern. Ivar didn't conquer cities. He arrived after they were already emotionally defeated. And here's the thing most people miss. This wasn't random brutality. This was messaging. Every action was calculated. Every punishment had an audience. When East Anglia tried diplomacy, their king, Edmund, assumed this was a normal war. It wasn't. Ivar wasn't interested in tribute. He was interested in reputation. Edmund was captured, executed, and his death became a warning label. Harsh, absolutely, but effective? Let's put it this way. After that, entire towns surrendered before the Vikings even showed up. No battle, no bloodshed, just fear doing the heavy lifting. That's elite-level psychological warfare. Ivar understood something most generals don't. You don't need to win every fight. You just need everyone to believe you would. And belief spreads faster than armies. Village whispered. Messengers panicked. Kings argued instead of preparing. Meanwhile, Ivar sat there, watching, waiting, doing absolutely nothing, and somehow controlling everything. Other Viking leaders chased glory. Ivar chased leverage. He didn't rush into traps. He didn't overextend. He didn't need constant action to feel important, which drove his enemies insane. Because you can't bait someone who refuses to play. Wessex eventually realized what was happening and started organizing properly. Fortifications, disciplined troops, actual planning. Too late. By then, they weren't fighting an army. They were fighting momentum. And momentum is ruthless. Ivar didn't even need to be present everywhere. The idea of him was enough. Armies hesitated. Generals second-guessed. Orders got delayed. And in war, hesitation is lethal. Here's the funniest part. Most Viking sagas barely know how to describe him because he doesn't fit the hero template. He's not swinging axes. He's not shouting speeches. He's not standing on a hill covered in blood, yelling his name. He's just sitting, calm, unbothered, letting everyone else make mistakes. And that might be the most uncomfortable kind of power because it forces you to admit something. Strength isn't always physical. Leadership isn't always loud. And most dangerous person in the room is often the one who doesn't feel the need to prove anything. Ivar didn't conquer England alone, but he changed how it was conquered. He showed that fear could be engineered. That reputation could replace force. That control beats chaos every time. And centuries later, we still remember the Viking who didn't need to stand up, to bring kingdoms to their knees. Not because he was the strongest, but because he understood people better than anyone else on the battlefield. And honestly, that's way scarier.